Good morning. Welcome to the table talk. Let me take this off for a second. Welcome to the table talk. This is the fifth episode of the Table Talk podcast today. I'm very excited. We got a great show for you today. Today is the launch of the Starship. And let me put that right back on. This is the Starship, if you're not familiar with it. It's the SpaceX Starship. Consists of a Starship as the second stage, and it has a heavy booster as the first stage. Now, in April of this year, they launched this stack. Not successful. It launched and it dug a hole about 50 or 60 feet and did great damage to the launch structure below here. They did not have a water deluge system. Boulders and rock and concrete, dirt, everything you could imagine also spilled out and into the surrounding area and damaged the tanks and the tank farm and things like that. It went as far as it went up. It got up, and then a flight termination system had to blow it up. Also, the Starship would not separate from the heavy lift booster. So as a result, it started tumbling. This occurred back in April. It was known as IFT-1. Today, I'm glad to say that they were successful in launching the Starship stack again in IF2. That occurred at 5 o'clock this morning. So yeah, so let me go ahead and we'll first of all, I'll show you the launch, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Okay?
Vehicle pitching downrange.
Booster chambers pressure nominal.
We are T plus 40 seconds into the flight of Starship. 33 Raptor engines powering the first stage.
Power and telemetry nominal.
We've heard power and telemetry nominal call out. We're heading downrange over the Gulf of Mexico. And that call out tells us Starship is through the period of greatest stress on the way to space. Now the next major event is hot staging in just over 90 seconds from now. To get ready, the booster will shut down all but 3 of the Raptor engines. Clamps holding the 2 stages together will release, and the Starship's second stage will ignite its engines. Starship will then separate from the Super Heavy booster and head to space. And at the same time, the 3 engines that are still firing on Super Heavy will flip the booster around. 10 more engines will ignite for the boost back burn, putting the first stage on path for a splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. Engine power continues to look nominal on 33 Raptor engines. We're about to shut down the first stage and perform staging. Let's watch and listen.
And acquisition of signal Houston and New Orleans. Booster engine cut off. Stage separation.
Boost bank startup.
Ship engine ignition.
You're hearing the cheering. The first ever successful hot stage for SpaceX's Starship.
Incredible views of our Super Heavy booster. And as you can see, the Super Heavy booster has just experienced a rapid, unscheduled disassembly. However, our ship is still underway with
Ship
all
avionics,
six.
power and telemetry nominal.
And we just heard there, ship avionics, power and telemetry nominal. All 6 engines are lit, as you can see from the GUI there at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Now, we did know that the that hot staging was going to be incredibly dynamic. We knew that there was a chance that the booster would not survive, but we're going to take that data and figure out how we can make the booster better for the next hot stage.
Yeah, that hot staging put a lot of load on the top of the booster. And of course, it flipped around there, a lot of dynamic stuff happening. But ship is still going strong.
And it's doing great. Right now, the ship, the second stage, is on its way. Like we said, you can see all 6 of its engines are ignited. The next major milestone for the ship will be the shutdown of those engines, or SECO, second engine cutoff, which if you follow our Falcon 9 launches, familiar terminology there. So far, today has been incredibly successful, even with the RUD of the Super Heavy booster. This is amazing.
Primary objective of the booster today, to get to hot staging, to get ship on its way to orbit. It did that admirably.
Yeah, we definitely asked.
Starship trajectory nominal.
All right, great news there. That trajectory for ship is
Acquisition of
nominal.
signal, Cape Canaveral.
Once again, Starship's second stage. It's firing those engines. And as you just heard, everything's looking good. Now, for the ship, we wanted it to survive hot staging, which, as you can see there by that little dot on your screen, it did. We also want to basically demonstrate that the successful startup of those engines, demonstrating controlled ascent, which is what it's doing right now, and eventually orbital insertion. We are hoping to basically send this around the Earth, and if it makes it this far, splash down in the Pacific Ocean, a couple hundred miles north of Hawaii. Now, if we get that far, like all of that sounds great. Secondary objectives for ship, again, continuing to gather engine data and about its health, performance.
Nominal ship chamber pressures.
Great news there. That tells us that the chamber pressures inside of the Starship, again, that's that small dot on your screen, basically the propellant pressures in the ship are looking good.
Yeah, the bottom right corner of your screen, you can see essentially a user interface showing us which engines are lit. So the 3 center sea level Raptor engines on ship are gimbaling engines. The 3 outer engines in the triangle, the larger ones, are Raptor vacuum engines. All of them continuing to fire nominally. So they're at the pressures that we expect to try to get into our target trajectory today.
Yeah.
And we're not targeting orbit today. We're targeting almost orbit today. That's very intentional as part of the mission design. The goal is to get to a thrust profile similar to what we would need for orbit, but also to get to the energy levels that the ship would need to dissipate for re-entry. And so we're actually going in a suborbital trajectory today, but that trajectory will get us to the energy levels that we need at re-entry, where we can really stress that heat shield and get valuable data on re-entry. And those calls that we are still on a nominal trajectory here and seeing nominal pressures means that we have a really good shot of hitting our target orbit.
Yeah. Now, if the booster had survived, we would be around the time where it would be getting ready to land, performing its re-entry, but it unfortunately did not survive. That being said, that's okay. It survived several seconds after hot staging, so we're going to take that data and improve the hot staging sequence and probably improve the hardware itself for the next flight.
They're standing by for a call out here. Coming up on the projected time that ship would shut down its engines.
As you can tell by the excitement from the crowd here at Mission Control Center in Hawthorne, there's a great view of our Star Command Center. That's our control center at Starbase Texas. The crowd here, Mission Control Center behind us in Hawthorne. Everyone is super exciting. What a successful day this has been so far.
And I mean, up to this point, major successful milestones through hot staging, which was the big objective today. So we are going to head into the coast phase, planned for the next about hour and 5 minutes. We'll be returning around the T+1 hour and 15-minute mark. And that's while we're waiting for Starship to continue on to its next step for reentry. We're not totally sure what video we're going to get, and that video comes normally by overflying ground stations, but we don't have a ton along our flight path. So fingers crossed that we will get some via Starlink on this mission since we're testing that out. And also give us a moment. We are hearing some chatter on the net, so we're going to try to parse that for you.
John Innsbrucker back here in Hawthorne at our webcast desk. We have lost the data from the second stage. We had heard a call out that we were in terminal guidance, which means we were getting near the end of the approximately 6-minute burn of Starship. But we haven't gotten any more data since then, so we think we may have lost the second stage. So we would not be into coast phase. We wouldn't be able to come back in an hour or so and possibly get ready for reentry. However, what we do know right now is we had an on-time launch at 7 o'clock. We got through the boats. First stage looked beautiful with 33 Raptor engines firing. We got the hot staging, you know, the thing that we really wanted to see and impressed. We saw the separation. We saw the flip maneuver. We saw the light up of the 6 Raptor engines on Starship, and it headed away. Everything really looked good. But what we do believe right now is that the automated flight termination system on second stage appears to have triggered very late in the burn as we were headed downrange out over the Gulf of Mexico. But the real topping on the cake today, that successful liftoff, Kate, Shiva, the hot staging is just beautiful. Exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah, ultimately, what honestly such an incredibly successful day. Even though we did have a RUD, or a rapid unscheduled disassembly of both the Super Heavy booster and the ship, that's great. We got so much data, and that will all help us to improve for our next flight.
Of course, and that's why we flight test, and you can bet that there's going to be more to come. So we really do want to thank you all for joining us. Of course, we want to thank the people of Cameron County. We want to thank all the federal agencies that have supported us for our test. And of course, a huge congratulations to the entire SpaceX team on getting through this flight test today. And I think with that, we're going to sign off from here in Hawthorne.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
All righty. How exciting was that? Let me take this off. Okay. So, if you didn't notice, in the background picture of the control room, you can see Elon Musk and his brother, Kimball, with the white cowboy hat, so in the colorful jacket. I'm not sure if that was his child or if that was Elon's child. I'm not sure that he was picking up there, but how exciting was that? So this was the IF-2 missions. This is the second attempt to get the two-stage, which consists of the Starship and the Super Heavy booster, into orbit or near orbit. So its mission profile was to launch from Boca Chica, Texas, which it did successfully, not damaging any or severely damaging any of the launch infrastructure, and not causing any outward damage to wildlife or property or in the surrounding areas, say 5 kilometers out, which would consist in the ocean. In the last time, back in April, you had massive damage, and you had massive stuff just up in the air, going all the way out into the ocean or the Gulf of Mexico. Pretty far out there, and just like projectiles and stuff. So that was not good. But this time, we have reached obviously some milestone goals. Their goal, again, was to get it off the launch pad, not damage the launch pad or infrastructure or anything in the wildlife refuge and beyond. And obviously, the flight termination system, called FTS, blew up both the booster, heavy lift booster, as well as the Starship late in the mission profile. Now, originally the mission profile was to make it all the way to Hawaii and kind of belly flop down into the ocean, Pacific Ocean, about 30 kilometers or so out from the Hawaiian Islands. And both of those vehicles would basically sink to the bottom of the Gulf and the ocean, Pacific Ocean. Not recoverable anyway. So, but they, as you heard, they were able to get a lot of good information, probably orbital heating, orbital mechanic type data, pressure data, engine data, all kinds of data. I'm sure that they were able to get. So they'll use that information, that data, to perfect the next launch and continue its journey and into its Starship's development. This is the second time that it's launched on this at this late point in its development. So yeah, how exciting that was. So to give a few little details, The Starship is a two-stage super heavy lift launch vehicle and a spacecraft under development by SpaceX. It happens to be the tallest and most powerful space launch vehicle to have ever flown, including the Saturn V rocket that brought Apollo 11 to the moon, to land on the moon, and others, all the way to Apollo 17, I believe it was. Starship is intended to be fully reusable, which means both stages would be recovered after a mission and reused. The Starship space vehicle is designed to supplant or replace the Falcon 9 and the Falcon Heavy rockets. This is the rockets that currently take the NASA crews to the space station, as well as crew supplies, as well as the Starlink satellite constellation launches. And I believe they've had a record set of launches of 200 and something launches this year on the Falcon 9. It happens to be a very reliable rocket system using the Merlin engines. This happens for Starship, it uses the Raptor engines, both a ground version as well as an orbital version of the engine. SpaceX is planning to use the Starship vehicles as both tankers, refueling other Starships to allow missions to geosynchronous orbit and to go to the moon, probably the gateway spacecraft that'll be at a libration point L2, I think, maybe, around the moon, and then go from there to the surface of the moon, as well as on to Mars. A lunar variant of the Starship is to land astronauts on the moon as part of NASA's Artemis program, and I believe that is Artemis 3. Yes, I believe so. The Starship's ultimately meant to enable SpaceX's ambition of colonizing a Mars. They want to, every 2 years, to be able to send 1,000 Starships onto Mars in one migration. Their goal is to get 1 million people on Mars living there permanently by 2050. That's the ultimate goal. How exciting is that? Starship's made up of the Super Heavy booster, which is the first stage, and the Starship spacecraft. The booster and the spacecraft's the second stage. The booster and spacecraft are both powered by clusters of Raptor rocket engines, which burns liquid methane and liquid oxygen, obviously at cryogenic temperatures. Both of the stages are constructed primarily of stainless steel, a material chosen as an alternative to a series of prior designs, including composite materials or composite materials. The booster will use its Raptor engines to slow itself down before it's caught by a pair of mechanical arms that are attached to the launch pad. Where it launched, the original launch point, that rocket booster is expected to come back down and be caught by the launch pad arms. It's amazing. Meanwhile, the Starship spacecraft is protected during atmospheric reentry by its thermal protection system, and it's on the windward side, the side that would be coming down in a belly flop mode down, so it would have thermal protection, and then the stainless steel on top. So it's just one half of the vehicle. The top is considered to be the leeward side. The bottom is considered to be the windward side, and it would receive a lot of heating. probably about 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit if I had to remember. So this is, it will do a maneuver called the belly flop maneuver as it's returning from space in horizontal mode. It has flaps on there that can help steer it and guide it and slow it down into a vertical position, and then it'll land using its engines into the arms of the launch pad. The Starship system aims to achieve frequent space launches at low cost. Development follows an iterative and an incremental approach involving frequent, often destructive test flights of prototype vehicles. The first test flight of the Starship system took place on 20 April 2023 and ended 4 minutes after launch with the destruction of the test vehicle using the flight termination system. Second flight test attempt of the vehicle was conducted on 18 November 2023. But while the upper stage separated, like expected, the Super Heavy booster exploded seconds after, while the upper stage was lost nearly 8 minutes after launch. It wasn't quite in orbit. It was intentionally set not to go into orbit, but just right at what they were planning. So yeah, how exciting is that? So let's see where we are. We're at 27 minutes, so almost 30 minutes. That's kind of all I have to talk today. I'm just super thrilled. I've been waiting since April to see this. I thought it would be great. I had originally planned to talk about Matthew Perry, Friends, do a tribute for him. Maybe my wife will come and join us next week for that, or maybe the week after. The reason is we are coming up on Thanksgiving holidays, which will be next week. So I'm kind of bouncing around, maybe just taking a break and relaxing, enjoying Thanksgiving with the fam, and picking it back up next week, or I may do it. It just depends. So wherever you are, I'm hope that you have a great Thanksgiving holiday season. We're coming up on that, and as well as the Christmas season and the New Year's. So all of that's coming up. So a lot of time spent with the family and friends. So, yeah. So, wherever you are, I hope you have a great time during the holidays. Please be safe, and catch us again on Table Talk Podcast, either next week or the following. I'm not sure. So, see you later. Have a great weekend.
What you do, you want to me, but I can't let it go so easily. Until I see what it could be eternity. Or just